to authentic expression, because you speak of passion and love, and people like that's how you got into it. That's how I got into it. Like all those things right there, I can connect on a very deep level. It's missing. Do you,
Well, once again, it's about suggestions. It's like, I remember being on the floor, looking up at the ceiling, trying to make up a new move and just getting completely frustrated, you know, uh, searching in the wrong ways. And I make this expression, it's about love. You really can't look for love and expect to find it. It just hits you. And a lot of those moments with me were reflected upon the music. And it was that one song that came out at the wrong time, that right song that came out at the right time. And something magical happened that, you can't just say I'm going to do a front roll and I'm going to use my left hand and see if I could tap. All that way of really looking into it is experimental. Of course, it's just taking chances to see what you can come up with. But I think that that's one example. Like the music is the key. It always has been the key. It opens up the doors for a theme, for the way you feel. You could be in a terrible mood in the day and you hear your favorite song and dance like you haven't danced in years. And likewise, you could be, in a certain type of mood and that's why music is so important. But if we reflect on all the elements, it's about just taking a chance. You never know. Like I tell people, learn to play an instrument. I tell all the young students, I say, does anybody know how to play an instrument here? And like usually like one or two people out of a class of 25. And I'm like, okay, so here's what you do. Try an instrument if you can. And secondly, does anybody DJ in here? And like maybe one.
mhm.
In a lot of these big dance classes, I'm talking about dance. So I'm like, learn to DJ, give it a shot, because and this is when I connected on that level to actually feel. When you understand what a DJ does, you can feel that needle in the groove. You can, and when you start understanding time, and it's already in us, this rhythm and time. When you understand the art of that, it enhances so much as a dancer, because now you know what the DJ does, and you could be like subconsciously in that same frame of mind as the DJ.
Now you know how to use the space, right? A lot of people, they always affiliate the two, time and space, right? So when you say timing, rhythm, patterns, and all that, there's a deeper connection for sure with learning an instrument,
Yeah,
specifically
absolutely.
turntables and DJing.
Mhm.
I've seen a good amount of people that came from drumming into breaking, and man, the skills transfer was just like so natural.
Well, I went from drumming into DJ before
Oh,
I
you
even.
did?
Yeah, I played percussion in junior high school and no grade school. Bongos, got into drums and stuff, but not taught. Like it was a freestyle class with a keyboard player, this guy Don, and he would just give instruments out to us because it was a program school, Lincoln program, and and I just immediately just drew right into it because there was, the drum was there. I was like, I understand this.
Was it hand drums or kit?
Hand drums, bongos and congas, and then it became timbales, and once again freestyle. I didn't know how to read music, no music theory, but and then the funny thing was that my mom played music in the house
Hmm.
before all this hip hop. Like we can call the music of hip hop, yeah, what my mom's listening to in the early to mid '70s. But I wasn't, my mind wasn't even in that place. But I remember a lot of that funk. I remember James Brown. So when playing, I was like, I would remember how those rhythms felt, right? So
Hmm.
then I'm there already understanding that how to work with a rhythm and flow. When I right when Dole's got that turntable and he started practicing and 3J up in his apartment, when I first started learning how to DJ, it was like 12 years old. Come on, man. It was like a new toy. It was like having like a bike. What are you gonna do with your new bike? You know what I'm saying? So that to me, that transition from the actual drum, and then lastly, seeing some moves and be like, oh snap. So then all of a sudden my body became these drums. Like now
Yeah.
it's like I can be these drums now physically and
Uh-huh.
go where I want to go with this. I just gotta learn, I gotta watch, no questions. You gotta just watch the guys that got down and you
Uh-huh.
picked it up and then you took it from there.
So you grew up with the music, the drum beats kind of in you already, and then you seen people moving and you're like, wow, you can move to this, you feel it, you're recreating it, right, as a musician, and then you see somebody, and that was kind of the moment you were like,
Well, it became my favorite, out of all the elements. I was writing already. It's
Okay.
funny because the first element I did was writing, and that was through Doze and my brother, Tunir. So the writing component was there. But see, even there's still a relation to the writing because I was doing imitating comic book characters in a comic book club after school when I was like 10. So the colors and everything, that was already in my mind. So when the writing culture stuff and the black books and the markers, I was like, it all fell into place with me. But the breaking became the one that I fell in love with the most. It was just something. I had a lot of energy. So yeah. But once again, getting back to the main thing you're saying, we do have to, some of us are not going to be inspired the way I explained it.
Yep.
Somebody might play an instrument and be like, I just don't get it. Someone might, go in. But the issue is with the creative process, it takes time. It takes time. It is something that really can't be taught. And it's like, there's been a rush of hundreds of teachers, and a lot of them are showing their personal stuff to people. And it's great for inspiration to experiment with ideas and understand things. But the real code of this art form is about you doing it the way you do it. And that takes time. You know what I'm saying? I have changed, my whole style has evolved in the last 40 years. Like I don't dance exactly the way I used to, but it's a beautiful evolution and it's a process. It's a process. And there's so many things within that happen, injuries. I remember breaking my finger when I was like 15 and had a cast, and I still was trying to figure it out. I started doing stuff off my elbow because I couldn't put my hand on the floor. So
And that elbow.
adapting to things. Yeah, I wouldn't do it, rather than be like this, I would just throw a one shot, on a cardboard.
Well, let's talk about that elbow slide real quick. About a decade back, I had the privilege to train with Iron Monkey out of Renegades in the Bay, and he was telling me, he was like, yeah, man, like I learned a lot of history from him actually about Rocksteady, about everything. Such an incredible person. He was saying, yeah, Kenny was the first I seen do the elbow slide, and how many people do the elbow slide now? I mean,
well, it's called Flowing Downstream. That's the name of the move, and that movie, Flowing Downstream, is inspired by the movie Seven Grandmasters, and it's a kung fu movie from Golden Harvest. No, is it?
oh,
Golden Harvest film 77, 78. And
flowing downstream, you said?
Flowing Downstream, yeah. So basically what happens in the movie is that the movie's about this guy that goes around challenging. It's like a battle movie, fighting all different styles, python, monkey, whatever. So there's one point in the movie where the dude's, he's fighting and he's getting a good tough fight. And then he just grabs, he kind of falls down, grabs the floor with his fingers and goes and slides on his ass like 12 feet and kicks the dude. It's funny as hell. Funny as hell. But that's that innocent inspiration. That's taking that. And I loved it. He said, flowing downstream. And he slid, spot, and he kicked him. I'm not lying to you. You can check that movie out, Seven Grandmasters. You can find it. It's online. But Grandmasters. Yeah, Grandmasters. So, but at that same time, I was really struggling. And that's not an 80s move. Nah, I made that in the 90s.
In the 90s?
Yeah, because what happened was I felt like I was limited in a lot of ways. Not in sense and style. Like I always felt like I had style.
Yeah.
I was limited. I felt I was limited to what my body could do, and comparing myself to where when came back around, and I was, we were linking up more in the early 90s. I'm seeing other B-boys that were just really extremely faster and powerful, and it was, it evolved. It did its own evolution worldwide, especially on California, the West Coast, in those 80s years, and then of course in Europe. But me coming back around, I was like, I want to be competitive, but I felt like I needed to open up my my stock, which means I needed to get more spins. I needed more sliding moves. I needed some sort of thread, maybe. I needed some flips, and I didn't master any of those things, but I knew I needed them. Mm-hmm. And because I couldn't do it like people were doing it, I had to figure out a way to do it. And that's part of what I just mentioned to you a few minutes ago. It's like you can try to do something as much as you want, but you may not ever be satisfied with it, and your body might not agree with it.